Alright, so here's how to shift states before you sleep. Listen to this. So Neville Goddard talks about this guy who was working as a banking executive in New York. Anyway, he reached a point where he felt stuck, especially because of his age. But he wanted more. And he knew he deserved it too. However, when he spoke to his bosses about moving up in the company, they basically told him it was impossible. It wasn't going to happen. And that he should look for another job if he wasn't satisfied. And that crushed him. It didn't make him feel any better. The thing is, he didn't even want to be rich, you know what I'm saying? He just wanted to feel secure enough to provide comfortably for his family and to send his kids to good schools. But he couldn't do that on his present income. It wasn't enough. So he told Neville about it and what he really wanted in life, saying the job he wanted more than anything in the world would be to manage investment funds for a major institution like a university or a foundation. Then Neville explained to him the law of assumption and told him that his situation was just a reflection, listen, of how he saw himself. And that if he wanted to change his circumstances, all he had to do was change his self-concept. Simple as that. And then Neville created a scene for him to imagine before bed, which was this: to feel himself at the end of one of the most important and successful days of his life. A day where he actually closed a deal with the kind of organization he wanted to be with and had accepted the exact kind of position he wanted, and feeling the relief of it, that it's done. This was the first week of December. And so, that's what he did. Every night before bed, without exception, he imagined his wish fulfilled and felt the relief that it was his and fell asleep in the assumption. Check this out. Then not too long after, around early February, a director from one of the wealthiest foundations in the world reached out to him, asking him to join, and offered him the exact kind of executive position he wanted, just as he'd imagined. Boom! Try this today. Know what you want, and then create in your mind's eye a scene, any scene, which would imply your wish is fulfilled. Then as you go to bed tonight, when you're in that relaxed, dreamy, sleepy state, that drowsy state right before knocking out, I want you to imagine that scene till you feel its reality and the relief that it's done. Then just watch. In a way you can't even think of, it'll manifest in your world.